You want a war? You're gonna get one.
Forget the lies, the money. We're in this together and through it all. They said that nothing's forever, and they refuse to see the change in me. Why won't they wake up? Come on, come on, come on. Let's get it out. Move to the music, play that fucking music. Live through my music, yeah.
Welcome to Reliving the War, episode 58. It's the night after Survivor Series 1996 and we have a new WWF Champion. Raw is live tonight from New Haven, Connecticut, while WCW Nitro is also live from Florence, South Carolina. We won't be going over the Survivor Series results today because a full video was just uploaded that takes a more in-depth look at the pay-per-view, so check that out if you want to see what happened in Madison Square Garden. Okay, let's get started with the first 60 minutes of Nitro. Before we begin, this episode of Reliving the War is sponsored by Indie Wrestler. A big thanks to the Indie Wrestler app for helping to keep the lights on here at Wrestling Bios. Indie Wrestler is a top-based mobile game that's a bit of a mix between a wrestling game and something like Football Manager. It places you in the life of an independent wrestler looking to get to the top of the wrestling world. What's good about the game is how the developers tried to replicate various pieces of being a wrestler. There's the managing your career aspect of it that includes dealing with promoters and trying to keep them happy, signing dates with promotions around the world, asking to get put into feuds, managing your calendar, and customizing your look. Then there's the wrestling part of it. Not only do you choose where you want to do a match or promo, you then choose your opponent and the promoter will tell you whether you have to win or lose. During a match, you'll compete in mini games and you're rated based on how you perform in those games. And then you've got the rosters. The team have managed to add some of the best indie wrestlers and promotions from all around the world, and it just makes it more fun than facing off against computer-generated names. Indie Wrestler is available to download free on Android and iOS. If you're a fan of wrestling simulation games, Football Manager, or just wrestling games in general, then do check it out. Give it a download and be sure to let the team know that you found out about it on Wrestling Bios. As soon as Nitro comes on the air, we see that Kevin Nash and Scott Hall have destroyed everything in sight. The Nasty Boys, High Voltage, Cyclope and Galaxy, maybe better known as Damien. All these guys took part in a triple threat tag team dark match, but the Outsiders came out and they attacked everybody. Hall and Nash then speak with Tony and Larry. Nash isn't too happy that Tony laughed during last week's promo, and Scott Hall wants to talk to the Faces of Fear. Scott says if Ming and the Barbarian want to fight, then come out to the ring and fight. Well, Ming and the Barbarian don't show up. Hall and Nash leave, the cameramen follow the Outsiders, and then Hall and Nash get jumped by the Faces of Fear. A wild brawl takes place before we go back to Tony and Larry for our formal introduction. Larry says that Tony should have stood up for himself when Nash was giving him trouble, but Tony says he doesn't need this, he has a family at home, and Tony decides to leave the broadcast. Larry Zbyszko is left all alone to do play-by-play. Our first match saw La Parka making his WCW Nitro debut in a match against Juventud Guerrero. Mike Tenay thankfully came down to help Zbyszko on commentary. La Parka got the win with a corkscrew moonsault. Dean Malenko got himself disqualified during his match with Ultimo Dragon. Dean decided to throw Dragon over the top rope. American Males versus the Amazing French Canadians, no, not the Quebecers, the Amazing French Canadians, was up next. This time it was Scotty Riggs who messed up when he kneed Jacques Rougeau in the back. Rougeau fell onto Marcus Bagwell, and this led to the French Canadians scoring a pinfall win. We then get an advertisement for the new WCWWrestling.com website, and look at this. Check out our photo library of WCW wrestling images. See the action and the glory of WCW, the triumph and the pain. Relive every heartfelt moment painstakingly preserved in a GIF. Painstakingly preserved in a GIF. Here's the only WCW GIF that matters right here. Lex Luger defeated Hugh Morris next with a torture rack. After the match, Luger cut a promo where he talked about winning the upcoming World War III Battle Royal. But then Sting showed up. Sting pointed a baseball bat at Luger before pushing the total package away. The Stinger gave Luger the bat before walking off. The crowd booed. Luger and Mean Gene were left confused in the ring. Gene wanted to continue the interview, but Lex walks away. The unopposed point this week goes to Monday Nitro. Vader got his shoulder injured at Survivor Series last night, so Mankind is going to take his place in our opening Raw match. We have Stone Cold Steve Austin versus Mick Foley, while WCW Nitro puts on a Chris Jericho versus Johnny Grunge match. Mankind attacks Stone Cold during the entrances. Someone has a sign in the audience, and all I can make out is a giant fuck and a small WCW. Good job. We have an absolute brawl on the ramp to start this one off that lasts for a few minutes. Officials try to break both men up, but it's no use. Mankind and Austin beat the hell out of each other, with the fight ending when Stone Cold gets launched into the steel steps. The two finally get in the ring and Steve Austin goes to work in the corner. The live audience are loving every moment of this as Stone Cold drops an elbow on Mankind while Foley was hanging off the apron. As Austin nails a double axe handle and as Mankind begins making a comeback, Vince McMahon says that Bret Hart and Stone Cold set a new standard last night at the Survivor Series. The match gets back in the ring and Mankind chokes Austin in the corner. McMahon then announces that Shawn Michaels is not in the arena tonight, though he's trying to make his way there. He's gone back to San Antonio with Jose Lothario because Jose's been suffering from chest pains ever since getting whacked with the camera. Stone Cold launches out of the corner with a big clothesline, and a big right hand sends Foley flying out of the ring. On the outside, both men try to use a chair, but neither are successful, and Mankind ends up getting thrown into the guardrail. The bump here looked and sounded quite painful. Back inside the ring, Austin goes for a clothesline, but Mankind counters with a mandible claw. Austin gets out by kicking Foley in his little cactus jacks, while the referee was distracted by Paul Bearer. We come back from a commercial break and Austin misses an aerial attack. Paul mocks Austin on the outside, and Mankind performs a leg drop from the apron that probably hurt Foley way more than it hurt Austin. So far, this match has been absolutely brilliant. Stone Cold gets dropped on the guardrail, Mankind brings Austin back into the ring with a suplex, and Foley manages to hit a swinging neckbreaker. Paul Bearer wants to see the mandible claw, but Mrs. Foley's baby boy wants to deliver more punishment. Austin answers Foley's leg drop with a sleeper hold. Foley breaks it by ramming Stone Cold into the corner, and Austin ends up taking a hard clothesline. Mankind tries to give Stone Cold the old Freddie Joe Floyd wedgie piledriver, but Austin counters it. Mankind is, however, able to snap Stone Cold's neck across the top rope. Infuriated, Austin begins laying in the punches while Foley tries to go upstairs. This is the epitome of a back and forth matchup. Stone Cold gets vicious and the match again ends up on the outside. Austin gets his face slammed into the steps while Mankind gets dropped across the guardrail. Back inside the ropes, Austin nails his second rope elbow drop, and as Austin begins working over Mankind in the corner, we see the Executioner running to the ring. The Executioner attacks Austin and the match gets ruled as a disqualification. The new and improved Undertaker then hits the ring to attack Foley, and when the ring gets cleared out, Austin decides to clothesline the Undertaker over the top rope. Stone Cold then runs away when the Undertaker gets back into the ring. One of the best Raw opening matches I've seen since starting this series. Excellent stuff here from the WWF. We see clips from WCW Saturday Night where a match was made official between Chris Jericho and Nick Patrick. Jericho is gonna wrestle Patrick with one arm tied behind his back at World War III. Jericho and Grunge start things off with a few hammerlock counters. Grunge hits a back elbow that floors Y2J, but Jericho comes back with a hip toss, a body slam, and a jumping sidekick. The fans have stood up and they are looking towards the entranceway. Nick Patrick is there. He's wearing sunglasses, an earring, and a black shirt because he's a total badass who you shouldn't mess with. As Johnny Grunge hits a side suplex, Eric Bischoff says that Roddy Piper likely won't show up tonight, despite the rumours going around the arena. Grunge then gets whipped into the corner and it feels like the match is in slow motion. Jericho goes over the top and he lands on the apron, and Grunge gets his head rammed into the top turnbuckles. Chris then goes for a moonsault, but he lands on his feet. Grunge takes advantage here and Chris takes a clothesline. Chris then pulls some weird faces when trying to pull himself up. I mean, just look. And Grunge uses his weight to avoid getting pinned after a sunset flip. The two men get back up and Jericho lands a spinning wheel kick. Chris then hits a drop kick that sends Grunge to the outside, and when Johnny grabs a steel chair out of sheer rage, Chris is able to slide under his opponent and slam Grunge's head on the apron. The two get back in the ring and Jericho takes a stun gun. Grunge then props Jericho on a chair and he hits a low clothesline. It gets absolutely no reaction at all. Grunge then grabs a table, he sets Jericho up inside the ropes, and Grunge just kinda falls through the table while holding a steel chair. Chris capitalizes with a top rope dropkick, and Jericho wins the match. It was always going to be tough beating that Austin vs Mankind opener. Raw gets the point. Jericho and Teddy Long cut a quick promo afterwards where Jericho says he's looking forward to his match with Nick Patrick at World War III. We have a few NWO promos happening over on Monday Nitro and a Jeff Jarrett vs Bobby Eaton match, while WWF Raw presents Savio Vega vs Faarooq. So, the Nation of Domination is now here, no more Mega Man Faarooq jokes. PG-13 rap as the Nation of Domination theme song plays in the arena. Clarence Mason is also here with Faarooq, and yeah, one of the best things that could have happened to Ron Simmons here when you compare it to his blue gladiator gimmick. Ahmed Johnson shows up and he takes a seat in the audience. Sonny is going to provide commentary also, and someone took the time to make this lovely sign for Sonny. Our match begins with Faarooq decimating Vega. Savio is able to reply with an arm drag and a drop kick, and Savio lays in a few punches in the corner before performing a monkey flip on the nation's leader. Wrist locks and hammerlocks are then traded in the ring as Jerry Lawler begins paying attention to Sonny at the commentary table. We see Ahmed Johnson watching the match from his seat as Savio transitions from a wrist lock into an armbar. Faarooq rakes Vega in the eyes and Savio gets planted hard with a spine buster. I never get tired of seeing Ron Simmons spine buster. And Faarooq begins focusing his attacks on Savio's lower back. Faarooq takes the time to give Ahmed Johnson the nation's salute as our match continues. Savio takes a snap suplex but he kicks out at 2. A back suplex from Faarooq results in Vega getting folded up like an accordion. And when we come back from a commercial break, Big Ron has a chin lock applied. Ahmed is keeping count for us tonight. Faarooq tries to jump on Savio and Savio turns around and he gets a knee up. But Faarooq does the exact same thing when Vega goes for a splash. Savio comes back with a face crusher. He then mounts Faarooq and a few right hands get delivered. Vega is then able to hit a body slam, but a follow-up elbow drop completely misses its target. Faarooq then tries a top rope attack, but Savio slams the ropes. Ron's little dominators take all the impact. And then we get a pretty bad botch when both men fall out of the ring during a superplex attempt. I like how Ahmed doesn't react at all. His face doesn't change one bit as Savio and Faarooq almost break their necks. Thankfully, both men are okay, but Faarooq looks pissed off. The match resumes inside the ring where Savio is able to floor Faarooq with a kick to the chest. Savio then flies out of the ring after missing a crossbody, and PG-13 attacks Savio with a 2x4. Vega gets dumped back into the ring and Faarooq wins via pinfall. Ahmed Johnson then makes his way down to the ring and he takes away the 2x4. The nation decide to leave the ringside area as the crowd goes nuts for Ahmed Johnson. As Faarooq listens on, Johnson tells the nation's leader that he's gonna pay for injuring Ahmed a few months back. Johnson begins a "you're going down" chant before he chases Faarooq out of the building. Another good Raw match here. Ron Simmons was on a much better path. The crowd loved Ahmed Johnson, and it's just a shame really about the superplex botch. Eric Bischoff reiterates that the rumours are likely untrue. Roddy Piper isn't in the building tonight for Nitro. The NWO's entrance music plays in the arena and out comes Hulk Hogan, Vincent, Liz and Ted DiBiase. Bobby Heenan runs away as the New World Order approach the commentary desk, and Hogan forces Bischoff to say that Hulk is a better icon than Roddy Piper. He forces Bischoff to say that Piper is afraid of Hollywood Hogan, and Bischoff is also forced to say that Hulk Hogan is a richer man than Roddy Piper. Bischoff says it all, he totally gives in, and Hogan tells Eric that everyone now knows who runs the show before the NWO leave the commentary table. We go over to Mean Gene Okerlund, who's going to interview Diamond Dallas Page. Okerlund reminds us that Page turned down the NWO last week, and Dallas says he's been letting the NWO do their own thing, and he's hoping that they let him carry on doing his own thing. Hall, Nash, Syx and the Giant then show up, and Scott wants to know if Dallas has changed his mind. Kevin Nash asks DDP if he gets it yet, and Page is totally confused. Syx and Hall say they get it, and when the Giant says the NWO should just take Page out right now, Nash says that the Giant also doesn't get it. Kevin Nash says something beautiful is going to happen tonight on Nitro before the NWO leave. Page says he works alone and that's what Self-High 5 is all about. And Mean Gene is left confused about what the New World Order are talking about. What is it that Page doesn't get, and what is it that's so beautiful that's going to happen later on? The fake Double J comes out for a match against Bobby Eaton next. Bischoff reminds us that Sting dropped Jarrett last week with a Scorpion Death Drop, and the match we get here is pretty short. Jarrett takes Eaton down and Bobby takes a few slaps to the head. Jarrett poses to the crowd afterwards and Bobby fires right back with a right hand. Eaton then takes an inverted atomic drop and he grabs his leg afterwards. Pretty sure that Bobby actually got hurt here as he takes a few moments on the outside afterwards. Jarrett comes out and Eaton gets dropped on the guardrail. Eaton then gets rammed into the ring post, and back inside the ring, Jarrett jumps on Eaton's back before performing a suplex. And the match ends with a figure 4 just like that. Ric Flair shows up wearing an absolute granddad sweater that probably costs a fortune. And even with a bad shoulder, Slick Rick struts in the ring and the South Carolina crowd love every moment of it. Mean Gene gets in the ring for an interview. Jarrett says WCW needs to put their differences aside in this fight against the New World Order. Footage is then shown of Sting dropping Jarrett last week, and Jeff says he isn't here to speak about that, he's here to talk about WCW uniting as one. Ric Flair says that Double J is ready to go against the Giant at World War III this Sunday. And Flair then tells Benoit, Mongo and Anderson to pay attention because the lead horseman is speaking. Jeff Jarrett is in and he's part of the group. The two men strut to end the promo and we see Sting in the rafters watching the whole thing, wishing he too could go down to the ring for a little strut. Gonna give both shows a point for these segments. Difficult to choose which was better. The in-ring action on Raw was definitely leagues above Nitro, but WCW had some interesting promos that set the stage for what's yet to come. Big Bubba takes on Jim Powers next on Nitro while the Karate Fighters tournament continues on Raw. Plus, Vince McMahon gives us a strange choice of words in regards to Shawn Michaels. We've got Bob Backlund versus Sonny next in our Karate Fighters tournament, the most prestigious, important tournament in WWF history. Mr. Backlund says that Headstone here is going to teach Sonny a few things about morality before our match begins. And even though Bob tries to cheat, he ends up doing the job and Sonny wins. Perfect versus Sid and Sable versus Sonny is our semi-final matches. I think that Mr. Perfect guy may have left the WWF though, so fingers crossed he comes back for one more match. Jim Ross gets all hot and bothered backstage while he watches Sycho Sid lift a few dumbbells. That WWF belt sure looks good on the big man. And then Vince McMahon gives us a recap of what happened during the main event last night at Survivor Series. Vince says Sid snapped when he attacked Jose Lothario. Jose refused medical attention in Madison Square Garden and he's resting up in San Antonio. And then Vince says that Shawn Michaels was the most charismatic and flamboyant champion the WWF ever had, and some people don't like him. Actually, Vince, Madison Square Garden absolutely hated Shawn Michaels last night, but nonetheless, Vince says people don't like Shawn Michaels because he dances, he has long hair, and because he's a ladies' man. Jerry Lawler interrupts Vince to say that HBK is also cocky and arrogant. That makes way more sense than people hating Shawn because he has long hair, so good save here from Lawler. Vince pretty much says that Shawn had Sid beat last night and the only reason he lost the WWF title was because he wanted to help Jose Lothario. And Vince says that Shawn may be a ladies' man, but what he done last night when he helped Jose shows that HBK is actually a man's man. A man worthy of a WWF title rematch against Sycho Sid. I honestly don't know if it's possible for Vince to get in there any deeper without hitting the back of Shawn's teeth. Jim Powers versus Big Bubba then, another short match on Monday Nitro. Bubba brings Jim to the corner after the initial lockup, Jim ducks out of the way and Bubba takes a few right hands. Jim dodges a corner elbow and Bubba gets tied up in a wrist lock. He tries to break the hold by grabbing the ropes, but a Roman Greco thumb to the eye does the job instead. As Jim begins coming back, Bischoff says he's tried everything to reach Roddy Piper but he couldn't get through. Piper's managers and agents aren't picking up the phones and neither is Roddy. Bubba hits a hard forearm uppercut before nailing Powers with a clothesline. Bubba then slides out of the ring to hit another uppercut on a groggy Powers, and then Bubba applies a chin lock. Powers gets to his feet but he gets put right back down with an enziguri. Ooh, chin lock number 2 from Big Bubba. Jimmy Hart warns Bubba to knock it off. And Powers is able to build a comeback when both men get back to their feet. Bubba ends up taking a knee lift that knocks him down to the mat. Out of nowhere, Bubba hits the Bossman Slam and it's all over just like that. Mediocre stuff from Monday Nitro, but the cringe levels were off the charts on Raw, so no points for either show. Right, what have we got here? Chris Benoit versus Eddie Guerrero on Nitro, and over on Raw, Bob Holly teams up with Leif Cassidy to do battle with Doug Furnas and Phil LaFon. Marty Jannetty suffered a leg injury at Survivor Series, so we have a babyface teaming up with a heel tonight. Furnas and LaFon ended up being the sole survivors in the opening Survivor Series match too, so these guys are getting an early push just like that other guy who debuted last night, Rocky Maivia. Captain Lou Albano joins the Spanish announce team for this match, and Lawler wonders if Lou can actually speak any Spanish. LaFon and Cassidy start us off here, and as the match begins, we see Lou trying his best to communicate with the Spanish announcers. LaFon brings Cassidy down with an armbar, Cassidy bridges out of a pin, and after sharing a few strikes, Leif gets kicked out of the ring. Bob Holly comes in, the two trade wrist locks, and LaFon tags in Furnas as we go over to Owen Hart, Davey Boy and Clarence Mason via split screen. Bulldog says he is impressed by Furnas and LaFon, but they got lucky last night, while Owen says he doesn't rate this tag team at all. The tag champs aren't into Survivor Series matches, they do best in 2-on-2 tag team matches. Owen says he and Davey are fighting champions and they'll put their belts on the line the next time all four men meet in the ring. Back to live action, LaFon and Cassidy are back in, and Cassidy takes a heel kick. Just before going to break, Cassidy nails his opponent with a clothesline to the back of the head. We come back and Bob Holly's in. He hits a nice dropkick that floors LaFon, but he only gets a 2 count. Bob Holly works heel here. He gets a cheap shot into Furnas before going to the top rope, only to miss an elbow drop. Furnas gets tagged in and he nails Holly with a dropkick. He follows up with a Frankensteiner, but Cassidy breaks up the pin. And when Leif gets tagged in immediately afterwards, the new rocker takes a hard clothesline. LaFon gets tagged in and he takes a dragon suplex from Cassidy. Leif goes for the same move again, but LaFon counters and he nails a Cobra Clutch suplex, scoring the win for his team. This was a solid tag team match. Guerrero and Benoit have their work cut out this week. The last time we saw Benoit versus Guerrero, both men were playing up to their injuries and the match wasn't great as a result. Let's see what happens this time. A headlock takedown from Benoit gets quickly countered with a head scissors. Benoit then hits an arm drag and Eddie comes right back with a tilt-a-whirl backbreaker, all within the first 10 seconds of the match. Benoit takes a hard knife-edge chop and Eddie then reverses a tilt-a-whirl attempt and a monkey flip by landing on his feet. Guerrero runs into his opponent and Benoit catches Eddie with an armbar takedown, and then the crippler crossface gets applied. Eddie gets a hand on the ropes. As the match continues, we get a split screen interview with Kevin Sullivan. He's here to promote that Baltimore house show again that takes place the night before World War III. And Kevin says he's going to teach Chris Benoit a lesson that no horseman would ever be able to teach him. Eddie nails a jumping spinning back elbow. He climbs out the ropes to perform his signature senton from the apron back into the ring, but it's not enough to end the match. Benoit sends Guerrero into the turnbuckles chest first and a high angle back suplex follows. Benoit gets frustrated when Guerrero kicks out. Eddie's arm takes a beating after a few takedowns and Chris wrenches hard on Eddie's neck. Woman likes what she sees as Benoit picks Eddie up and he delivers a Northern Lights suplex, dropping Eddie's arm in the process for extra limb damage. Benoit then applies a modified Kimura and Eddie also gets his arm stretched by the crippler. Guerrero looks like he's in trouble here. The two men stand up and Chris goes for a powerbomb. The crowd pops when Guerrero counters with a pin attempt, but Benoit kicks out at 2. Benoit answers with a back elbow that floors his opponent. Nitro takes a commercial break as Benoit goes back to stretching Eddie, and when we come back, Benoit is still working the arm. Guerrero manages to pull off a nice head scissors counter, but Chris comes right back by lifting Eddie in the air before dropping him face first to the mat. A front suplex from Benoit leaves Eddie hanging over the top rope. Benoit then nails a superplex, and after Eddie kicks out of another pin attempt, both men tumble out of the ring when Chris goes for a running powerbomb. On the outside, a fist fight breaks out and Woman ends up jumping in to save Benoit, but back inside the ropes, Eddie is able to nail a side suplex. He goes for the frog splash, but Benoit moves out of the way. Guerrero rolls out of the move, and our match ends when Benoit counters a pinning Frankensteiner, scoring a pinfall win and ending an excellent match on Monday Nitro. Two good matches here, but the point goes to WCW. This was Benoit and Eddie on top form, and they completely stole the show this week. We end both shows with promos. Sycho Sid gets interviewed on Raw, while Eric Bischoff gets a surprise on Monday Nitro. Bischoff gets into the ring and he apologises for sucking up to Hulk Hogan earlier. Bischoff says again that he's tried his best to contact Roddy Piper, but the Hot Rod isn't answering his calls, his faxes, this new thing called emails. But Eric promises to do everything he can to get the Hogan vs Piper match booked for a future pay-per-view. The bagpipes then begin playing in the arena and Bischoff looks shocked. He wasn't expecting this. Roddy Piper walks out, the Hot Rod gets into the ring, and Piper says it's nice to be back, but he's here to tell the truth. Roddy says he's honoured to be on Nitro, but someone has been saying that Piper is afraid and scared, and that's a lie. Piper then points to Eric Bischoff and he says that Eric's a liar. Roddy then sarcastically shakes Eric's hand and Bischoff looks like he really wants to leave the ring. Piper says that Bischoff flew to Portland, he talked to Piper's managers apparently, and Bischoff visited his ranch. Piper asks if the road is straight or crooked on his ranch, and Bischoff says he can't remember. So it's made clear that Eric has not been trying to contact Piper to get this match signed. As the NWO hit the ring, the Hot Rod lets out a naughty word. I'm sure this didn't go down well at Turner.
Tell me something! You piece of shit! You are...
The New World Order hold Piper down as Hulk Hogan gets in the ring and he embraces Eric Bischoff. Hogan then says that we should now realise who everyone is working for here. Hogan says Bischoff is the foundation of WCW and now he works for the NWO. Hogan says Piper is a loser. Until Piper wrestled Hogan, nobody knew who he was. Hogan says it's time to teach Piper a lesson, and Piper tries to make a dive for Bischoff, but he's held back. The ring fills up with security guards as the New World Order begin leaving the ring. Once things settle down, Piper says he's going to show up at World War III with a match contract. Bobby Heenan and Mike Tenay can't believe that Eric Bischoff has been a part of the New World Order for all this time. Over on Raw, new WWF Champion Sycho Sid gets interviewed by Jim Ross. Ross says that Sid had thousands of fans cheering for him last night. Many said it couldn't be done, but Sycho Sid is now the man. Ross wants to know if Sid has any remorse for attacking Jose last night, and Sid says no. Jose got on the apron, and therefore, Jose became part of the game. When asked if he'd give Shawn a rematch, Sid says yes. And Sid will once again take out HBK because Sid is the master and ruler of the world. It doesn't matter if it's Stone Cold Steve Austin, The Undertaker, or Vader, Sid says he's going to be a fighting champion. But next in line is Bret Hart when the Hitman gets his title shot at the next In Your House event. Sid trips over his words a little here.
Because you have to face me, Britman. Hitman.
And Sid says Bret won't rebuild his reputation by defeating Sid for the title. Bret's big comeback comes to an end at In Your House in West Palm Beach, Florida. Sid again says that he's the master and ruler of the world as Raw fades to black. Nitro wins Reliving the War this week, but it was really thanks to the show being longer. Raw was great this week. You can feel the tone of the whole show changing with the excellent Austin vs Mankind opener, the Nation of Domination making their presence felt, and Sycho Sid leading the pack. Nitro's promos were good this week though. The Bischoff stuff completely changes the landscape of WCW Nitro, and the first 60 minutes of the show was good too, with the Outsiders starting things off, causing absolute chaos. If we were judging shows only on in-ring action though, Raw would have won this week. Our overall scores are 20 points to Raw, 30 points to Nitro, and we've had 8 ties. Nitro won in the television ratings this week with a 3.2 rating, while the WWF managed a 2.4. Next week we'll have the World War III results included in the episode. Harlem Heat also try to break the Ming Manly meter once again when they battle the Faces of Fear. And over on the WWF side, Bret Hart is back in action and a rivalry gets reignited when the Hitman takes on younger brother Owen Hart. I hope to see you all next week, and thank you very much for watching.